Thursday, 2023, 7 o'clock. This is the meeting of the Finance Committee. Do I have a motion to open?
Motion to open, please.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our meeting is open. Oh yeah, here's Pete. I forgot about Pete on the Zoom. All right, folks, so it looks like we have a quorum, and the purpose of tonight's meeting is to discuss some of our budgetary guidelines for FY24 and kind of set a schedule for ourselves going forward, so we can, you know, get this going, get the process going again. As you know, as we all know, it's going to be another challenging year, like it always is, because we just don't have, as you would say, Pete, a lot of fat in the budget. There's not a lot of fat in the budget to trim, and that's true, and that's going to be more so this year, I think, especially since I think the inflationary costs are going to be a factor this year, and it'll make things even tougher. So the departments are really going to have to come in pretty lean with their budgets, in my opinion. And I think Mr. Kelly's already expressed that with a memo to the different departments. I think he's asked them for a number of different budgets. I think one, maybe the level funded or level service, and one reflective of a small increase, maybe by 1%. And I think there was also one reflective of a cut. So there's going to be 4 different proposals, and a lot of this is going to, you know, go before the Board of Selectmen. I don't know if it'll already be pared down by the time the departments, you know, come and present their budgets to us, as far as which ones they're going to present to us, but we'll find that out over the next couple of weeks. And I know Mr. Kelly's downstairs planning board meeting. I think he indicated he was going to try and get up here once their meeting ended to give us a little insight as to what's going on. When we met last week, he provided us with this packet that you guys have in front of you, going over, and now these numbers are only estimates. You know, they're rough estimates. I think he did indicate that the state aid numbers are probably going to come in later than they normally would, especially because there's a you know, new administration that just took over. So that'll be a factor as well. So if you guys want to take a look at that, I got a bunch of copies here. I'll give you guys copies. This was from Chief Richmond gave a presentation last week to the Board of Selectmen with regards to the overtime issues that they're facing.
I just gave you one. Oh, thank you.
It's pretty significant, and you know, part of the issue for their department is just the loss of manpower. And I think they had 2 active military deployments.
And a couple to state police, right?
And I think one of the recruits, he resigned the day after 1 day of being in the academy. I guess he just realized it's not for him.
They've got a couple of people in the academy now, don't they?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, he outlined it pretty good. It's all in here.
What's the academy at right now? You know?
That I'm not sure. Not sure on that one. And then there was supposed to be, I've been attending, some meetings with regards to the Mass DEP, the Title V. There was also a meeting scheduled for last Wednesday that Pete was gonna go to. It was at Old Colony, because Old Colony is gonna start the process. It's like an exploratory meeting, feasibility study. They wanna possibly expand the school, make some major improvements, or potentially build out a whole new school, which is, you know, can be costly to do that. So they're in the beginning of that. There's going to be a meeting with regards to that on either January 31st or February 1st. So if Pete can't make it, then I'll attend in his place. Just so we can get some feedback as to what's going on. Because potentially that that'll be a big deal once that, if that does go through. You know, 'cause it's gonna be costly to our town. It's gonna be a much bigger assessment than the normal yearly assessment to have some of our kids go to a colony. So we'll definitely need to have an idea of what those numbers are gonna be. And I think, I'm not sure on this is why we're gonna go to these meetings. If it has to be unanimous with all the towns agreeing to this, I'm not sure. Pete, do you know anything about that?
I don't think it has to be unanimous, but I do think they need to have.
A majority?
Four towns. So I think just one town saying no could put the kibosh on it. I mean, two towns saying no could beat the kibosh on it.
Yeah, because with this what, how many
Five.
5 towns?
So I wanna say, I think two towns, if they say no, that stops it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my understanding after talking to Mr. Kelly last week. And I believe he had said that the early rumblings were that there were a number of towns who were already planning on saying no.
Well, yeah, I mean, understandably so, especially with what, you know, every town is facing now. You know, I mean, it's more challenging than others. Like for us, we don't have a lot of commercial or business to depend on, like a city like a town like Fairhaven or Dartmouth or.
I don't think any of the member towns really have a great deal of commercial,
No,
right?
no.
Rochester,
No,
Rochester, Carver,
no, so we're all in the same boat.
Marion, that Poison, so.
You know, and then going back to, I don't know if, I think Rochester might be part of this potential mass DEP Title V issue. So they might be also named in that, if anything were to change. Is everybody here familiar with what's going on with that? The two proposed amendments that they're gonna, I don't even know if they're gonna end up voting on them because they extended it to January 30th. Originally, they were gonna try and push this through on January 3rd.
This is the state you're talking
The
about.
state, yeah, without any adequate public comment period,
Yeah.
you know, especially for us. You know, they did a Zoom meeting probably about 6 weeks ago with our Board of Selectmen. It was probably about 20 minutes, they gave them an overview, and then that was it. And then all of a sudden, we see this, that they're gonna be voting on these two proposed amendments that could have a significant major impact on our town. So right now, our town is in a good spot with regards to being on the NSA map. We're not considered a problem area with nitrogen. But if these two amendments pass, it's gonna give the Mass DEP the ability to just change it, redesignate, and put us in that problem watershed area. And if that takes place, then there's a 5-year window for a homeowner to do this upgrade, unless the town files for a watershed permit.
What type of an upgrade to the septic system?
It's called the denitrification system. So what you would have to, and I don't know all the ins and outs, the Board of Health could probably.
Does that require replacing the whole septic system?
I don't know. I don't know if somebody would have to come in and dig up a leaching field, and I don't know where this
It's costly.
system would go.
It's gonna be, I think, from what I understand, something 25,000, 30,000,
Yeah.
$25,000.
Well, potentially.
Depending.
But yeah, and there's so many unknowns to it. It's like, the problem that I have with this is, how is the Mass DEP gonna determine that an individual homeowner is contributing this excess amount of nitrogen into the waterway? I mean, how are they gonna test it? I mean, I'm afraid that they're just gonna do like a blanket statement
Yeah.
saying, okay, because there's this amount of nitrogen going into the waterways, and we know that 80% of the homes in our town are on septic, then they're gonna assume that we're contributing to the
Yeah.
problem, which is a really bad assumption because from some of the research that I've seen, it's called the combined sewer overflow. Those contribute the most excess nitrogen into the waterways, you know, especially after a heavy rainstorm, you know, like we're gonna have tonight. So after, you know, heavy rains, the wastewater and I guess the sewer water are supposed to go through one pipe, from what I understand. But when there's a heavy rainstorm, it can't handle the normal capacity, so it overflows. So in that case, you end up with some raw sewage in the waterways, unfortunately.
How does
But that's
this,
not coming from like a septic user.
right, it's clearly not coming from a septic user.
No, I mean, and the other thing is agriculture,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so whatever we put on our lawns, you know, fertilizer contains nitrogen.
Yeah.
So are you gonna tell people to stop fertilizing their lawns? Or you can only use this type of fertilizer? You know, where's this gonna go? I mean, there's so many unknowns.
And how does this impact the town's, switch to sewage, right? Like, the town center has already switched to sewage. Don't we have a,
Thankfully, we started that.
right,
We paid, what, $300,000 to do that comprehensive wastewater
Yeah.
management study. And that helped enable this part of town to start doing sewerage.
right,
And that's a key component to actually being able to get a watershed permit, is when we already started that process. So, worst case scenario, we have to apply for a watershed permit if we got designated as a problem area, then
Yeah.
that gives us a 20-year window
to do something.
for a homeowner to decide what they're gonna do. But the problem that I have with that is, okay, so if we're in that window and that homeowner decides to sell their home, are they gonna be obligated to put this denitrification system?
Like a Title V
Yes.
inspection.
And to do that upgrade when they sell their
Yeah, I
home?
think probably
Or
so.
you're gonna have to put that money in escrow, and then that's taken away from your profit of the
If
sale. of the home.
anything, I'm sure they'd have to make notification to the buyer that
Mhm.
you
Right,
have
so
20 years.
So really, ultimately, we want to avoid
I don't care how
any
old the house
designation.
is. If you sell your house now and you have septic, 9 out of 10 times.
You're gonna have to
They're gonna
replace the
flunk it and you'll have to, the next owner, or you.
You're gonna have to probably replace the
Yeah,
septic.
yeah, you'll have to make arrangements
Yeah.
when you just transfer the house over.
Well,
That
depends.
You're gonna pay for it.
Well, I already did that, like I bought my house in 2005,
Yeah.
and within 4 years, it went into failure. And I had to do a whole new leaching field, D-box, all that stuff. And I learned a lot about septic and Title V.
Especially when it comes out of your bank account.
Yeah, so I learned in a hurry how to properly maintain a septic system, because I don't want to keep paying for that. But, I mean, so if you have, many people are in that situation where they've already done upgrades, you know, so, like if I sold my house now, I would expect to pass a Title V. I just redid the leaching field in
Yeah,
2010.
when you redo it, there's like a 30-year
Yes,
Hopefully,
yeah. If
guarantee
you,
on it.
depends on who it's
It's
Yes.
supposed to pass.
yeah, so
You can go back to the
it
person
should,
who
a
put
good
it in.
system should last a good 30 years.
Yeah.
If you
If
properly
you treat
maintain
it
it.
right, you know, yeah, you gotta
You don't
pump
abuse
it
it.
out, you gotta,
Yeah, you do
You gotta
the,
pump it up properly.
Yes.
don't use the garbage disposal and
don't
don't put
pour a lot
oil
of
and
grease
and,
down there, yeah, exactly.
you know,
And pump it.
and, yeah, you gotta pump it every couple of years.
Yeah, so, you know, when we're going back to like the whole budget process, we can't just look at this year, we have to look at potential big ticket items that could affect our town 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now. So, and these are a couple of them, the Mass DEP nitrogen issue, and then what's gonna happen with Old Colony. Those are two big ones.
No, just offhand, are we obligated to be a member to Old Colony? Can we pull out like Freetown can? What's the
Well,
offset?
we're a member town. Freetown was never a member town. Freetown was just allowed to
As a
send.
member, are you obligated to remain a member? Can you pull out?
I don't know.
I mean, how many-
Years ago, guys, people would go to, New Bedford folk.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's New Bedford folk, but
Yeah, but, so,
I'm
It's,
I'm not suggesting that, I'm just kinda curious.
I don't think New Bedford Hope can handle the capacity. They wouldn't be able
Old
to.
Holland can't even handle the.
Well, how many did we have? I forget how many kids we had over there.
You know, it's actually a good question,
What-
like how many kids are we typically sending to Old Colony? Because New Bedford Hope,
We're the largest percentage.
That information is in all the numbers that we had last year,
Yeah.
and it's gone up the last few years as Freetown has gone down. So our attendance has gone up, I wanna say it was about 10, 12% each year in the last few years.
Yeah,
Definitely like 150, 180, Pete, does that sound about right? Maybe 130?
I don't think it was that high. I want to say it was around 106, 110.
Okay, but it's still 100 kids.
that's still,
It's still 100 kids.
that's a good amount, and I would actually expect those numbers to grow over the next several years with the popularity of the vocational schools, you know, coming into play, because
Oh,
I
there's
think,
definitely a need for voc school.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll push voc
100%.
school all the time.
no, and so I think this whole study that Old Colony is doing, I think it's important. And I'm interested to see, you know, how it's gonna turn out, you know, because I would hate to see any, you know, kids in our town that wanna go learn a trade not be able to. That would really not be a good thing.
No.
Sure, I mean, there are other options too, union options, apprenticeship programs, and a variety of things.
Go ahead, Pete.
I was going to say, even if there was some way or reason that we wanted to pull out of Old Colony, we would still end up paying for our kids to go to a high school somewhere.
Right.
Oh, absolutely, I'm just wondering the
Right.
additional cost of, what would happen if we became like Freetown? We still send our kids to school and we'll pay for the kids that
Well,
go to Old
Freetown kids
Colony,
now-
but we're not a member.
Freetown kids now go
You gotta
to,
keep in mind, too, even if
Is
they
it
had
Bristol?
room,
the one at the end of
send them to
140.
Fairhaven.
Bristol Plymouth?
Is that the one?
Is that
Yeah,
vocational
they-
school?
Yes, it is, yeah. So they just had to
So-
change vocational schools that accept the kids, so, I don't know, are we required, I would, again, I think, are we required to offer vocational school as an option?
I mean, actually, something to find out, and this would be a good question this would be a good question for New Bedford Voc, is could New Bedford Voc handle
up any-
X number of students per year into their programs?
Yeah, I mean, how much are we
For
paying
Christian
for
residents.
being a member with Old Colony versus if we're not a member, if we could split between New Bedford and Old
Because
Colony as a non-member?
Because I know New Bedford's a bigger school,
It has more trades.
they have more
that are
programs
more
available, like they
relevant.
have HVAC, they have plumbing and pipe fitting, which Old Colony
Yeah.
doesn't have right
Oh,
now.
They even have bookkeeping, legal studies, they have a lot more
Yeah, they
that
do.
offer, but I don't know that we can, right? Oh, Pete, yeah,
We're just spitballing here.
I was just gonna say it, I mean, it's a conversation to have, but we've gotta be realistic too. If we pull these kids out, there aren't other schools that have openings for 100 students. And I don't think that you have openings at New Bedford Vocational.
No.
Probably not, I mean,
No, I wouldn't suggest that we pull out, but if that was something that the town would look at, I would think that it would be
I
sequenced and staged.
I don't think it costs us
I just
more
think
because we're a member
the same
town.
thing about having availability.
Does it cost us less?
to look at For being able to take on the numbers that we would be moving. I mean, right now, Old Colony barely has room to increase their numbers, and that's only because we're taking over space from East Freetown as their students graduate. So, to my knowledge, I don't know of any school system that's out there that has extra space.
Is there any towns that you know of that would look to be members of Old Colony? And that just can't
Not
take them?
right.
'cause
They
it-
don't have the room
Without
for it.
Freetown.
Yeah, because they don't have the room, but if
Yeah.
Acushnet pulls out,
Oh,
I don't think
will.
no, I don't
I
think
mean,
they,
I would have to be really, probably extreme, like, let's say Old Colony wants to build a brand new school, and we're gonna have to go to a tax override in a particular year to cover the cost, then I think, you know, then that discussion maybe would take place at that point.
that's extreme, but that's the potential.
It's a potential, yeah, I mean, so these are all things that we have to think about when we're planning ahead. You can't just look at the next year, you gotta look ahead. So, those are some big things that we're potentially gonna face.
The one question that I think Pete would be helpful to know is how they allocate, right, this is a long-term expenditure, right, if they're doing something massive at the school. I don't remember is how they allocate the cost to each of the member towns. Are they looking at a historical, or a historical like population, or are they doing it on a year by year?
They've been doing it on a year-by-year based on enrollment by town.
Even like, yeah, even the bonding for like the science lab and the roof, all of that goes under the same allocation? Cause back
So,
in,
yes,
okay,
when we looked at all of their breakdown for their yearly budget, everything was the percentage of what the enrollment was for the student for that year prior. So for 2023s, it was 2022's enrollment.
I'm just thinking about it like, you know, we pay it, and then down the road, there's a significant shift. Not that I would envision it happening, but what happens if there's a significant shift in who the population is, right? Like, what if we go down by 75% and Rochester goes up by 75%? But yet we're outside the window of paying for the renovations. Like, that's the part that I'm trying to understand how that works. You see what I'm saying? Like,
I haven't seen it yet, so we obviously haven't gone through it.
yeah,
But I don't believe their renovations are coming out in one lump sum. So I can't picture them trying to hit the town up straight for it. It would have to be some type of
Bonding.
If we're making a yearly payment on it, and that payment's gonna be adjusted based on enrollment. That would be my
it has
guess.
to be bond.
Yeah. That's still gonna be a big obligation,
Yeah.
it would still potentially be a big obligation.
The one thing that I remember from back in my day, when the very first year that the science and roof expense, like the yearly expense for that hit the budget, I remember everyone got very upset because the individual town charges went up exponentially. But that was simply because of the science and the roof. It had nothing to do with the operating budget. Where the rest of the town gets to kind of differentiate what's normal operating budget and what is bonds, premium, principal and interest payments. Old Colony kind of pulled it all, has to pull it all in, or did pull it all in. So I just want to make sure that we differentiate, like whenever this happens, that there's good communication as to what is operating budget and increases there versus increases from capital expenditures to which we voted for, and then the following year, everybody's in an uproar. Like, I hate to tell you, we voted for this, so why are we in an uproar now? So that's the one thing I want to be mindful of, because I remember it was a very difficult conversation that year, even with our Old Town accountant, and I'm like, this isn't fair, why? And she's like, well, if you're telling me the increase is because of the bonds, then yes.
What they gave us was extremely detailed.
Yeah.
Which was awesome, which brought up a concern when we were meeting with the Board of Selectmen, that our own school committee said that they were gonna start lumping things together for ease of going through their budget, which I'd rather prefer the details so we can see where everything's being spent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we'll probably find out more once Old Colony has their meeting at the end of this month or on February 1st. Because the first step is, I think the towns have to actually agree to go forward with the feasibility study, because there's gonna be a cost for that. And once you commit to that, if you're gonna pay to do the feasibility study, then guess what? You're probably gonna go forward and go along with whatever project they're probably gonna end up doing. So, you know, some decisions will have to be made.
We really don't have much of a choice.
Well, I mean, if 3 out of the 5 towns don't wanna, are in favor of doing even going forward with the feasibility study, then I think it probably doesn't even go anywhere.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to see how it plays out,
Yeah.
and then go from there. I know there was only one other thing with Old Colony. I think they were looking to add a school resource officer to their budget. So that's something that is gonna be brought up, I think, when they present their budget to us this year. I know Aaron Polanski, he had emailed me.
From what town? From Rochester?
Old Colony.
Yeah.
Which member town would be
He's
putting
gonna
the office?
provide the
It would have to be
resource
Rochester, you think, right?
Yeah.
Because that's they're in Rochester.
It would be, yeah, it would be Rochester, but I think all the towns would share an allocation.
So
absolutely.
the cost,
Yes.
yeah.
So,
Talked about this a number of months ago too, if you remember, my comment was, there's no way we can sit back and say no to that cost when we
Right.
have a resource officer for our own school here.
oh, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it was, I wanna say the cost was gonna be somewhere around $20,000 a year would be our portion of it as an estimate when it came through with it, based on what their salary would be and split up amongst the member towns.
Yeah, I think you're right on that.
It seems kinda high, though. 20,000 is our portion for.
Yeah, it was like I remember I received an email from Aaron with regards to that, and the first year, I think it was the least amount. It might have been like maybe 14,000, and then it increased a little bit, and then eventually it was just gonna,
But doesn't the town, like our resource officer, a percentage, like the school pays a little bit for the resource officer? But the resource officer's a police officer, it comes under the police department budget. Isn't there a percentage, won't Rochester Police Department
well, yeah, well, I think.
own a percentage of that
Absolutely, they should.
officer's salary?
Well, they should.
Yeah,
Right, so in Old Colony, I'm sure that this is gonna get brought up when they
Yeah,
come in and present their budget. So I just wanted to make you guys aware that
yeah.
that's gonna be on the table, when they come in. All right, do you guys wanna get into, like trying to set up our schedule, like with dates?
It's kinda tough, right, without Kathy, I mean, do we know who's available and
It
budget?
is, right, so today's the 19th,
We can set it tentatively.
we might not even end up meeting next week because
There might not be anybody.
there might not be
Available.
anybody available. So,
Are there any budgets that are ready?
no, so I'll let you take a look at this soon. Jamie sent this to me yesterday with, this is the upcoming schedule for the Board of Selectmen, so they're gonna be reviewing these departments as they come in. So Jamie was kinda indicating for us to meet with these departments after they've already met.
With the,
Ideally, that's how we'd like it.
That's how we should do it.
But, yeah, but in the past, it's,
Crunch wise, I mean,
we always fall under the gun and we're meeting with department heads that haven't been approved yet
right,
by the
cause
selectmen.
I believe our annual town meeting is the second Monday in May. But we have to have all this
done.
done weeks ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, and like we had discussed earlier, I would think that maybe our first hearing, we should just have the ones that are pretty cut and dry without real, level funded,
Yeah,
level
let's-
service budgets that are gonna have issues,
well, I think
It's gonna be in May.
it should be, most of them should be like May this year.
Town meeting will be in May, right?
Yeah, I think it's usually the second Monday
Yeah.
in May, so that,
The 8th?
Why don't we look at what days?
no, you know what, it's probably, no, I don't think it's the 8th then.
And start filling
That doesn't
it.
seem right.
Yeah, it seems so.
Maybe the 15th?
Sorry, Pete, what did you say?
I said, why don't we start looking at what days we want to sit and meet, and then we can start filling in what we think might be available. I mean, that's what we did last year. We ended up shuffling stuff around, but I
Yeah.
think I'd rather start getting early.
So,
All right, why don't we do this?
so the 24th, although we don't really meet with anybody that's presenting on the
All right, so
24th.
I'm gonna write down some different departments here that we typically meet with. So Park and Rec, Council on Aging, Board of Health,
Board of Assessors.
yep, Board of Assessors, Library, Town Clerk,
Mhm. Board of Selectmen, 2 schools.
DPW,
Yep, and all of their
All the
departments.
what was that?
All of their departments, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Parks and
they-
Recreation,
I
Yep,
got Park and Rec,
golf.
Golf,
Golfing,
thank you.
police, we get police, fire, EMS.
Police, Fire, EMS. We'd probably
EMA.
we'd have,
Do we know
Animal
one?
control, planning,
oh yeah, that's right, Animal Control. That'd be another easy one that could come
Yeah.
in
EMA?
right off the bat. Well,
Planning,
EMA would be part of the EMS, right?
Yeah.
So they'd be in
historic
that.
commission,
What was that, Pete?
is it the historic commission? Are they on it?
that's the, this, like CPC, that sort of stuff, do they normally come in?
Conservation?
Conservation, we don't usually have conservation come in.
I don't remember
We never
having.
have.
No,
CPC, I think we've had them come in.
Yeah, we had, what's his name, Dakin. He was the head
The
of it.
preservation committee, right?
Yeah. All right, I want to put them down and put a question mark next to them.
Oh, wait a second. Hold on, I can do this.
So I think we got all, I think these are all the departments that would typically come in, present their budgets to us. I don't think I'm leaving anybody out.
Emergency management?
Yeah,
All right, so this is who we met with last year. I have my notes right here, I can't believe I didn't think about just looking at them. Council on Aging, Library, Animal Control, Planning, Golf, Building, Assessors, Park and Recs, Police, DPW, Conservation, Historical, Tree Warden, Board of Health.
yeah, we're not gonna have a tree warden come in.
Board of Selectmen, Town Clerk, Old Colony,
So-
sorry,
Moderator,
CP, I would put historical, and what was the other one?
conservation.
Historical Conservation, Tree Warden, so Council on Aging, Library.
Historical would be with CPC,
Yeah,
so,
that's how we did those are the ones when we met last year, that was the list.
yeah, I think it should be.
Old Colony Fire, EMS, School Department.
Are we in the throes of redeveloping the master plan?
I don't even, I think we're still looking for a town planner, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Doug, I think he decided to leave, so,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
We have a new building inspector.
Do we?
Yeah. I think we.
Babola,
From Mattapoisett?
married, Fahaven or
Married.
Mattapoisett, I don't know which. He's had some health issues though.
Yeah.
What happened to,
All right, so let's go over some, let's try and set up a schedule.
25th would be next Wednesday.
So it looks like they're gonna be going over historical next week.
So, the problem is, we don't really meet with too many of the ones that
No.
they're meeting with on the 24th, and then the next one's only the 7th.
We can always ask Kathy to work it out during the week and let us know who we're gonna be with.
Yeah,
I mean, this, whenever we always set this up and it's always like a
Floating schedule.
Fluid.
tentative, yeah, exactly. So sometimes things get flip-flop.
I don't think we can wait until the
No,
Board of
we can't.
Selectmen meet,
We can't.
because their meeting where we actually meet with people is the 7th, which means is the 8th, that's 2 weeks that we lose.
All right,
That's
so
too much.
I want to potentially put a block together, like our initial block of departments that we could meet with that I think are usually
Ready.
level funded, or close to it, would be Park and Rec, Animal Control, Council on Aging, and Board of Health. Those, like,
Yeah.
have all those four come in one night.
Yep,
All right, so.
that's how we did it last year. Council on Aging, Library, Animal Control, and Planning were the originals that we asked for. Council on Aging, yes, I agree.
You have the library, you said?
Or unless we don't do Board of Health right off the bat, because I know they're dealing with a lot of different issues. Unless we want to do Park and Rec, COA, Animal Control, and Library.
Yeah, Library, let's see who did come in on the first meeting. That's who we originally asked for. The very first meeting that we met with on the 26th of January was Animal Control, Council on Aging.
Was that our first hearing?
Library, yeah.
On the 26th?
On January 26, 2022, we met with Animal Control, Council on Aging,
And
Library.
We could probably get the Park and Rec in here too, because that's a small,
Yeah,
before.
so I think, but I don't know if we should actually meet next week.
February 1st.
Yeah,
Don't
Yeah,
forget
so-
also in February, we have vacation. We
Is any-
generally don't meet that.
is anybody going away, school vacation in February?
I might not be around.
Didn't you just came back from vacation? You going another,
Wow, throw somebody under the bus.
right?
I participate via Zoom, how's that?
And you don't have to do that.
Sounded very judgmental there.
Just giving her a hard.
He's just jealous because I ran into his brother at Disney.
Yeah, I know, it's like, I was so funny. Yeah, I'm just giving her a hard time. That's the chairman's job to do that. All right, so February 1st,
And it looks like planning actually came in that same day.
so school vacation week, I think is the third week in February,
Yes.
which would be the 15th that we would,
Yep,
so we can have meetings on the 1st, the 8th,
22nd.
and the 22nd, right?
Yep.
In February, so those are 3 meetings right there.
And 22nd.
So I'm thinking, let's see if we're all on the same page with this. So the first meeting on February 1st, we'll try and get Park and Rec,
yep.
Council on Aging.
Animal.
Oh, if you want to do the same way, yes. You
Council.
don't want to try for next week? Or you don't want to try for the 25th?
I just don't know, I mean, I haven't, I'd like to have a better idea if they're ready to come in or not.
And I'm fine with doing less meetings, but more departments if it
Yeah,
can go a
condense
little
it.
bit later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can go a
mean,
little bit longer and less days, but I don't want to speak for everybody. I don't know what's easier for you, Eric.
Most of them are short meetings, the only ones that are longer is like the school department and
The school, the board of selectmen.
board of selectmen and,
Yeah, so those, we don't wanna,
We don't double up on
We
those.
don't
No,
wanna
no,
clump
no,
too
no, no.
many groups like that.
police department, fire department.
Yeah,
longer.
so what if we work backwards, Mike? What if we put where we want school, where we want, where
Usually
school makes sense, where,
Usually at the end of the,
That's the last budget we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, I don't know if I wanna do it that way though, because I'd like to get a little bit more insight from Jamie, as
Okay.
to, when to have, police, fire, cause I think police, fire, EMS, and then school,
are all their
they're gonna be at the
contracts-
end.
yeah,
All their contracts settled now?
They had one more to ratify, I think it was police, I think that was it.
okay, so if we do February 1st, animal control, council on aging, library, and did you say planning? Planning came,
Park and rec.
park and rec, sorry, okay.
You said you had library too?
Yeah, I did, last year we met
There's
with
4 of them.
Alright,
4 of them.
so,
Park and rec was actually the following week for us last year, but park and rec should definitely be,
Yeah.
we can throw that in, I think
so I
that should
think
be.
on February 1st, we do those 4,
Yep,
right?
And the 8th now.
So now let's go on to the 8th.
Okay.
The thing is with the planning board, it's like, who's gonna come in? Like, because typically you'd have the town planner
come in.
come in,
For that, then I think we need to have
so
the,
I think we kind of wait on that. I mean, maybe we can just add them,
yeah,
last minute, like, all right, Kathy, we have a town planner now, let's get them in on the,
but
let's see
the
if they come
chairman
in
of
on
the
the.
planning board can come in,
Yeah.
Mark Francois.
All right, that's true.
Last year we put the dates out there and offer for them to come in on those days if they wanted to meet. Otherwise, we just asked for their budgets to be in.
I like doing it the way we've been doing it, where they actually come in and present their budgets, just in case we have any questions for them.
Right, but I mean, last year there were a number of them that just didn't come in. They just sent in their budgets. We had a lot of people that just didn't come in.
Well, I mean, if somebody has a budget and it's completely like level funded,
And there's nothing to really talk about.
then, okay, yeah, if that's,
Like the tree
if
board.
well, yeah, we're not gonna have a tree board.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they let us know, then we can adjust our schedule accordingly. But I wanna try and get a sense of something in place, and then we can kind of tweak it as we go along. All right, so on February 8th, we could, how about Board of Health, Planning, Board of Assessors? And maybe, I don't know, you wanna try and throw CPC in there?
Board of Health, Planning, CPC, sorry, I missed.
I think we should do CPC because they're gonna, the Board of Selectmen are gonna be going over the historical budget, right off the bat. So let's, all right, so February 8th, Board of Health, Board of Assessors, Planning, and CPC.
Okay.
All right, so now we're left with Town Clerk, Board of Selectmen, DPW, Golf, Police, Fire, EMS, EMA, Schools,
The two schools, right?
Old Colony. Did we have Old Colony come in with our schools? No?
No.
No,
They came,
You know what, I shouldn't say that, they did come in, for one meeting, but when it was actually time to go over their stuff, we had their itemized.
I think we should do, yeah, we should do them separate from our schools.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yes,
So our schools we're gonna save for just one date on their
Yeah.
own. But Old Colony, I wanna give Old Colony a little bit more time, so we're gonna save them towards the end. So do you wanna just not meet on February 15th, which is the school vacation week?
I'm fine with that. I think that's what we did last year too.
Yeah, we
I
like
skipped
that's a
that week,
floater, I
just in
think,
case.
yeah.
Alright, so
22nd.
the next meeting would be February 22nd. Alright, so we still have golf.
Okay.
DPW. I think we could definitely probably do golf.
What about building? Do we have them slotted yet?
No, I didn't even have, I had planning.
Last year, building department did come in.
Okay, alright, yeah, so we're gonna add that one.
Building assessors. Conservation.
Town clerk.
That's usually a long one.
Yeah. So do you have conservation on your list?
No, I don't.
Conservation came in last year, Pat. Talked about the stormwater compliance.
Oh, yeah. Alright, so maybe on the 22nd, building, conservation, and golf. Alright, so now,
That's 3, right?
yeah, that's 3 meetings. So the
March
next
1st.
Wednesday would be March 1st.
Yeah.
So now I think we can start like separating them a little bit, where we don't have to like clump them all together. I think town clerk and board of selectmen should be one night,
Yep,
just separate. Everybody in agreement with that?
yes,
You wanna do that one on March 1st?
Yeah,
yep.
Town clerk.
let's do town clerk, board of selectmen on March 1st. And again, this is just,
This is a wish list for us right
yeah,
now.
this might change.
So then 3A.
So
Will,
3.
will change.
Yeah, we know it will change.
Yep,
So we got the DPW. So I think on one, we usually would have police, fire, and EMS all in one night.
Yeah.
They would all come in on one night, so I think we should have a separate night just for them. So I think maybe DPW on March
8th.
8th.
looks like DPW may come in with police last year.
DPW, no.
Well, unless we did DPW and police together, and then we keep fire, EMS, and
together.
EMA together. You want to do that? Because we have the dates. I mean,
Yep.
we can spread it out.
And that would be on the 15th of March?
So
No, 3A, who's 3A, sorry? So is that police and DPW?
3A, police, DPW.
Police and
Okay.
DPW.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're left with fire, EMS, EMA, schools, OC.
So 315 fire,
Yep.
EMS, EMA,
fire.
OC, I would say OC would be the next separate meeting, which would be what, the 22nd, March 22nd?
Yeah. And that would be, which one, on the 22nd?
Old Colony, and then our schools would be last,
Yeah, 29th.
March 29th.
And that could go into April 5th.
Possibly, yeah, because if there's, if we have anybody we wanna call back in for questions.
Yeah, it gives us
Then it
a
gives
little
us
bit
a
of-
reserve of a couple of weeks, that we could utilize, for that purpose. Cause this usually, the budget usually has to be ready, to go to warrant,
Printed and all that.
Yeah, I think it's
30
like-
days prior.
it's,
April, I imagine.
oh yeah, it's gonna be in April. Yeah, because the annual town meeting is the middle of May. So there's definitely a deadline there, but I think, you know, if we had to, we could potentially meet on April 5th. But I don't wanna go to, I mean, this is, for you, it's gonna be an issue because you're getting close to tax deadline. So, we wanna get this done
Beforehand.
before it gets crazy for Sue,
Yeah,
because
because
we need her here.
the 12th is not gonna happen for me, so the 5th would probably be the last one
Yeah,
that I would be able to make.
What?
and then,
In order for me to survive the deadline that happens that following week.
and then April, then we have April school vacation, which is the 15th. I'll be away that week.
Yeah.
I'm going to Florida. What was that?
Zoom.
I will not be zooming from the beach. No.
We thank you for that.
Yeah. All right, so we have a tentative schedule, right? So our schools were 329.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so I'll send an email to Kathy with all these tentative dates so she can start reaching out to these departments.
Some of them, I'm sure, have to meet with their boards.
Yeah, and I think if we tried to do it next week, I think it might be too soon.
Yeah.
So this is gonna give a 2-week buffer for people to get all their ducks in a row, and be ready to come in for us.
Did Mr. Kelly ever say or talk about the articles that people might, departments?
I haven't even posed that question yet, so I haven't heard anything.
Articles that departments are looking?
Well, I can't imagine that the DPW is gonna have any big ticket items, because over the last 10 years, we've been buying big pieces of equipment, it seems like almost every year.
Yeah,
So,
and it's been beneficial to the
No,
town
it
because
has.
of what they've
No,
done.
I mean, there's certainly a need for it, but I would hope that this year we're gonna get a break on.
Well, I'm sure there might be a truck or two. I'm the rep, but I never hear anything from anyone about any meeting that they're having or.
No, I just,
Any
hopefully,
discussion?
they don't have any issues with any of their big equipment.
Yeah, I've reached out a couple of times to Dan, but I've not, heard.
I think, we'll probably have some good questions for our golf department, I would imagine, when they come in. I know Pete's gonna,
As long as they raise their rates enough to cover their expenses, I'm fine with it.
yeah, I mean, the bottom line is they need to be, covering their costs.
Self-sufficient.
Yeah,
They've done,
well, and you could probably speak to that, right? I mean,
they've done fairly well this year.
and-
Everybody that I talk
Last
to,
year, even with the pandemic going, they did good, because that's about the only recreation that people could go to,
yeah,
that they were.
Right, but now, is inflation gonna cut into
Well, that's.
people playing golf?
well, everyone's gonna be
Especially,
hurting from it.
well, yeah, I mean, people are cutting back on everything.
They have
I
to.
mean, you see it in almost every business. No business has been immune to this out of control inflation. I know mine personally has been
Paying
affected.
$8 for a dozen eggs, I mean, they expect.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've all been affected by it. And my fear for our residents is, God forbid, we can't fund an operating budget with the revenue stream that we have. And I mean, I don't ever wanna see us have to go to an override to cover our operational expenses.
No, of course not.
Um,
Nobody wants to go into reserves, nobody wants to do any of that.
no,
Taxes are a little bit high, but the benefits that people want, trash pickup,
Yeah.
snow removal, things like that.
Well, snow removals,
Yeah.
I mean, every town's obligated.
Well, I realize that, but the trash pickup, a lot of towns, you have to pay.
Well,
You have to pay for the bags, you have to pay for this.
you know, and that, who knows, that could be some, that could
We
something.
give a lot of benefits from the town.
And trash is actually going down, right? I mean,
That would potentially be something that we would probably look at though, as somewhere where, you know, instead of asking for an override, okay, then we're all
Oh,
gonna chip
yeah,
in.
if you're going to
We're all
the
gonna have to-
override,
we're
the
all-
override's like a swear.
We're all gonna have to chip in to pay for our trash pickup.
I think that would be the only way you would sell that to the town people.
Well, and you gotta do the cost analysis, right? How much is it gonna actually save the town
Yeah.
by doing that? So, I mean, we're not at that
Hopefully,
point.
yeah, exactly, hopefully we won't get
We're
there.
not at that point, but, you
Let's
know,
just be better about how we
and that's
throw away
why,
our recyclables, right, stuff like that, because they used to be,
Pizza boxes going to trash.
that's why
Exactly,
I
that's
always
what's up.
wanna err on the side of being conservative with our budgets and how we take that approach. Because of what we talked about earlier tonight with, you know, there's some unknowns, right? With this nitrogen issue, hopefully it's a non-issue, and I hope our town doesn't get designated at all. We shouldn't have any designation. That way we don't even have to apply for a watershed permit. You know, 'cause I don't wanna see our residents put in that predicament where just because the state has this great funding plan at 2%, well, guess what? You still have to take out a loan, and you gotta pay that back. In my opinion, that's wrong. You know, if the state and federal government waste so much money, if this is that big of an issue, then they should fund it themselves.
Well, we've always been saying that over the years, I mean, with the schools get a lot of unfunded mandates from the state. I mean, I kinda sympathize with them on that, I mean, the state does tell them, you have to provide this, but we don't have any money to give you to do it, but you gotta do it.
Right, and we're probably gonna be facing that, you know, this coming year, and, you know, all that ARPA money, I mean, that's gonna end, and they're not gonna keep, I don't think the federal government's gonna keep printing money, but who knows, with,
Plus, who knows
you
what's
know,
gonna
the guy
happen
in
with.
charge.
The
with,
state takes in a lot of money, and they spend it foolishly. You see, every state does it.
No, absolutely, well, cause they put all this garbage in these bills,
Yeah.
that, and then they vote on them, but they don't even really know what's in them, right?
That's those
I mean, our famous
right.
Speaker of the House, our former Speaker of the
Former
House, thankfully,
We'll know when we go.
infamously said, well, you can't see what's in the bill until we pass it, right? That's almost like this whole nitrogen thing. You know, they wanna pass these two proposals without really giving us a whole lot of information about it. Like testing, cost, all that. I mean, we don't know anything. So that's why they need to like shut that down. I mean, I wrote to our rep, Paul Schmidt, really nice guy, talked to him at the Council on Aging. And I saw the letter he sent to the commissioner at the Mass DEP. And it was a great letter. He's basically asking for, I think he was asking for a 6-month moratorium. Just to like cool the brakes on this whole thing, where they're not passing anything until more information has come to light. And the same thing, Senator Montigny sent a great letter as well, opposing what the Mass DEP was trying to do. Because it's just wrong, you know, without, you know, the Mass DEP, in my opinion, should be coming down to each individual town that's gonna be affected. And they come and they give a presentation in our gymnasium, and we have a packed house with all our residents in there. That's how that should play out, in my opinion. They have their big slideshow that they're gonna present. I mean, don't you guys think?
Oh, absolutely, I mean, you gotta have public hearing, you need to, I mean,
More
that's
pollution
the,
going into the river from New Bedford than Acushnet, that's
Well,
for sure.
yeah, the combined CSO, the CSOs, right, the combined sewer overflows are potentially 80% of the contributing problem. So how much of a factor is it gonna make, if an individual homeowner puts this denitrification system onto their property? You know, they should do their own analysis where they're testing before and after. But again, I don't
They're
even
just
trust
trying
all,
to force towns
I
and
don't even trust all
communities
that, because I just think it's
to go into sewer, you know, sewage.
And this whole thing came about because there was a lawsuit filed, right? I think from what I understand, the Buzzards Bay Coalition filed a lawsuit against Mass DEP with regards to this. So now, then they started scrambling, well, what are we gonna do? We have to put something in place. So let's go after the individual homeowner, the resident, and let's hit them with it. Well, we don't have the deep pockets, right? The deep pockets are the city, the town, or, I don't know. But not the individual homeowner, that should not happen in a town like ours.
Especially down off South Main Street, it's all, most of it's all seniors down that end of the town. Been there for years and years. And they're all septic systems.
Oh, just think of how much they're struggling now
Yeah.
with their property taxes increasing,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
homeowners insurance,
Fixed income,
They
utilities.
still gotta pay $8 a dozen eggs, like everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of people out there hurting. And those are the people that, when we're talking about finances, we gotta think about that. You know, I mean, fortunately, I'm just gonna say we're all still working. I think you're retired. Are you still working?
No, I retired when I hit 79.
All right, so, yeah, you should be retired. But, I'm not on a fixed income at this point. You're not. So we're still gainfully employed and earning. So it doesn't hurt us as much as it does the 80-year-old grandmother who's trying to stay in her house,
No.
right?
Exactly. Anyway,
Okay, I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent. I tend to do that sometimes.
Motion to adjourn.
minutes?
No, well, we gotta go over minutes. We got 2 sets of minutes to approve. The first set is from September 21st, 2022. In attendance was myself, Pete Benoit, Eric Chu, Sue Delgado, Bob Ferrara.
Motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those minutes passed. All right, at the meeting of September 28, 2022, in attendance was myself, Bob Ferrara, and Eric McGlynn.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the minutes passed. All right, next on the agenda would be any old business that anybody has to discuss. No old business? Any new business?
We're all keeping the same liaisons, right? Positions and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue as the liaison to our schools. Pete, to Old Colony, your DPW,
Oh.
golf. So you know what I mean?
Everyone has
I help
them.
Yeah, you help me.
The
yeah.
departments all have reps, right? I mean, everyone that needs
Yeah.
one, there's not a,
And there's no other new possible finance committee members, I take it?
No,
yeah, that's kind of,
so I think the word is out there that where, if anybody has an interest, they have to submit a letter of interest to the Board of Selectmen, to be considered
Well, Christian.
on the Finance Committee. Flip, no. No, that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
We should get the amount of openings out to whoever puts it out on the website and in the announcements. Because the word out there, unless something's actually written down and they know how many slots are open, I don't know if we'll get a lot of immediate interest out of it.
Yeah, I mean,
we've been struggling and trying to get interest from anyone for years.
I think we got like 3 slots open.
I
When
have,
it was put out last time, Eric and I both came in at the same time, and it was because of that notice.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a couple residents in mind that I'm gonna actually reach out to and personally ask. To see,
That's how I joined.
I
right,
mean, technically, when Jackie, she's gonna be coming off the list, right? So we've got,
right, and I texted Mr. St. Jean this morning,
He's not gonna.
because I just wanted to reach out to him. Yeah, he didn't get back to me today.
He won't come back. I know, I talked to him.
You've been in communication with him?
My daughter's father-in-law, he's not gonna come back.
All right, so,
I doubt very seriously.
well, I still wanna hear it.
Yeah.
I wanna hear it from him.
So,
Once he tells me, that's it, Mike, I'm done, then his name will be off the member list.
So it's Jackie and
Right.
Bob and,
And the vacancy that we already have, don't we?
yeah.
Yeah, so,
Like I say, I think it's three.
so basically it's, you know,
Three
it's
down.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so there's basically 6 of us, so we don't have a big buffer of, you know, if one of us is sick or 2 of us are sick on the same night, then they won't have a quorum. So we really,
Unless they come in on a Zoom meeting.
on Zoom, yeah, I mean, we could do that. But ideally, I mean, if we can get one more good, you know, candidate in here. You know, it doesn't matter what background they're from, business.
It's hard to get people to volunteer.
It is. I
For
mean,
district.
well, and especially for this committee, right? I mean, because this is a committee that, you know, some
Does not
years,
make friends.
some years been a scapegoat. You
Well,
know,
every year, the annual meeting is, you know, we get torn up.
we shouldn't. I mean, there's no reason for that, really.
Where we got,
To the potential woman we had that was gonna be joining us with the school
No,
committee.
yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. So we're, yeah, so we're still right where we're at. So that's about it. Anybody else have anything else to add? So,
maybe we
Kat,
should vote
on
raises.
the agenda, Kathy had our next meeting scheduled for next Wednesday. So I'm gonna email her and let her know that we're gonna meet on February 1st. Will be our next meeting, and to try and get the departments that we checked off to come in on that night, so we can actually start this process. And then, you know, Mr. Kelly will probably be at our meetings going forward. He's dealing with a lot of stuff right now, so it's gonna be a challenging year, again, like it is every year, right? I think this is my,
I don't even know.
this is my 17th season, doing this now. Every year I say I'm gonna retire, but then I don't,
The
The
watch,
money's too good.
the golden watch is coming.
right? You know, I'm starting to, you know, it's almost like the Tom Brady situation, like, is he gonna play, is he gonna retire, you know?
I say the same thing every year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've been on the committee the longest out of all of us, because you were already here when I came on,
Yeah.
17 years ago, and you came on the year after I did.
Had a
No,
full-time
I was
there.
pregnant with Ava, so it's 14 years now for me.
Okay, so it's a couple years after.
Yeah, 14 years for me now.
I think it's probably 10 or 12 for me.
So, I mean, we have some good continuity in our group, and, you know, I
New
think,
blood is always good because it brings a different perspective than maybe.
Absolutely.
yeah, we just, you know, my fear too sometimes is, you know, somebody comes in and they're, you know, a big spender, or they're okay with spending a lot, and
Well, when you don't have
can't,
it,
can't have that. I mean, I just, and I would reiterate that, you know, we're always gonna err on the side of being conservative. You know, we want good services for the town residents, but at the same time, there's that fine line that we have to balance, right?
yeah, well, I mean, we just don't have the money to spend. I mean, it's one thing if you had the money to spend and you're trying to be conservative. It's another thing when we don't have the money to
Look,
spend,
it's
we
al-
have to be conservative.
It's almost, it's impossible to keep everybody happy, right? On the employee side and on the resident side. Somebody's always gonna have a gripe, that's just the way it is. You know, go on social media and look at some of the posts that are out there, and it's, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Pending litigation.
Right, so that's something that gets talked about a lot, so. All right, I think that's.
Motion to
We
adjourn?
have a motion to adjourn, we have a second?
I'll have a second on that.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.